Do you feel like you don't speak enough English? That you need to know more words? Then stick around. With these lessons, you'll pick up some of the most common words in just a few minutes. Now, this video is a small portion of our learning program. To get the full lessons, translations, and Fluency Fast study tools, click the link in the description and sign up for your free lifetime account. In this video, you'll learn 20 of the most common words and phrases in English. Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. Welcome to the 800 Core English Words and Phrases video series. This series will teach you the 800 most common words and phrases in English. But there's a twist. With each new lesson in this series, we'll include the previous lessons at the end. So after you've learned the new words and phrases, stick around and review what you learned in previous lessons. Reviewing is one of the most important parts of learning a language. You can also get the full list right now at EnglishClass101.com. Click the link in the description to access more example sentences, create your own flashcard deck, and finally master English. Okay, let's get started. First is frying pan. Frying pan. Frying pan. A frying pan is a very common item to have in a kitchen. It's usually quite large and it has a handle on it. We use it to make eggs, pancakes, many different things. This frying pan is very cheap. This frying pan is very cheap. This frying pan is very cheap. Cutting board. Cutting board. Cutting board. A cutting board is as it sounds. It's a board that can be wood or plastic or maybe another material that we use to cut on. This is to keep our counters clean and safe. The cook is cutting a hard-boiled egg on the cutting board. The cook is cutting a hard-boiled egg on the cutting board. The cook is cutting a hard-boiled egg on the cutting board. Sink. 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 A sink is a place where you wash your hands, or in the kitchen, a place where you wash your dishes. The sink is almost full. The sink is almost full. The sink is almost full. Bowl. 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 A bowl is something that we use to eat soup or stew or perhaps ice cream, anything that is kind of liquid-like. The bowl is empty. The bowl is empty. The bowl is empty. Exit. 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 The exit is the opposite of the entrance. An exit is a way out of somewhere. Where is the exit? Where is the exit? Where is the exit? Map. 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 A map can be a physical item or a digital item. It's a guide to the area around us, or it can be a guide to a larger region, like a state, a city, or even the world. Check the map to find your way to your destination. Check the map to find your way to your destination. Check the map to find your way to your destination. Suitcase. 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 A suitcase is something that we use to keep our belongings in when we travel. A suitcase can be very small or it can be very large. Do not leave valuables in your suitcase. Do not leave valuables in your suitcase. Do not leave valuables in your suitcase. Tourist. 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 A tourist is someone who visits a city or a country just to see the sights. They don't live there, they're just there temporarily for a short time to enjoy famous places. The tourist is taking pictures of the animals. The tourist is taking pictures of the animals. The tourist is taking pictures of the animals. Politics. 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 Politics refers to the government of a country or to the government of a world. It's a popular discussion topic. People like to talk about policies, about people, and about ideas relating to world governments. The politician is talking politics. The politician is talking politics. The politician is talking politics. Biology. 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 Biology is a subject of study. It's a subject in science. Biology refers to living things, to organisms, plants, animals, and creatures. Biology is the study of living organisms. Biology is the study of living organisms. Biology is the study of living organisms. Chemistry. 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 Chemistry is another subject of study, also a science. Chemistry looks at very, very small scale reactions between chemicals, gases, many different kinds of things. The laboratory is a place to learn about chemistry. The laboratory is a place to learn about chemistry. The laboratory is a place to learn about chemistry. Physics. 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 Physics is another topic in the science category. Physics looks at how we understand the world in terms of things like time and space and gravity. I know the basics of physics. I know the basics of physics. I know the basics of physics. Economics. 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 Economics is the study of the economy. So this refers to the money that comes and goes and moves around inside a country or around the world as well. Economics is a good background for many fields. Economics is a good background for many fields. Economics is a good background for many fields. Put. 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 Put is a verb. We can understand it as meaning to place, so it sounds a little bit less formal than place. Please try to put this box on the top shelf. Please try to put this box on the top shelf. Please try to put this box on the top shelf. Remember. 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 Remember is a verb. It means to recall information, to be able to think of something that you saw or heard or learned about in the past. I'll try to remember. I will try to remember. I will try to remember. Hold. 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 Hold is a verb which refers to keeping something, usually in your hand. Hold on to the handrail. Hold on to the handrail. Hold on to the handrail. Shopping cart. Shopping cart. Shopping cart. A shopping cart is something we use in the supermarket. They're generally kind of large. We can push them around the store and we put our items inside. The shopping cart is empty. The shopping cart is empty. The shopping cart is empty. Plastic bag. Plastic bag. Plastic bag. A plastic bag is the bag that we get from many stores like supermarkets or convenience stores or maybe other retail stores. We get a plastic bag after we purchase items. The man is carrying a plastic bag full of groceries. The man is carrying a plastic bag full of groceries. The man is carrying a plastic bag full of groceries. Comedy. 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 Comedy is an art form. It's the art of making people laugh. Comedy is also a movie genre. They're watching a comedy and laughing. They're watching a comedy and laughing. They're watching a comedy and laughing. Novel. 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 A novel is a type of book. It's a long story. So there are many different kinds of books. Books that are novels refer to these long stories, often with complex plots and interesting characters. I like suspense novels. I like suspense novels. I like suspense novels. Well done. In this lesson, you expanded your vocabulary and learned 20 new useful words. Click the link in the description and sign up for free at EnglishClass101.com to get access to the full list of vocabulary you'll need for daily life conversations. You'll also get example sentences, custom flashcard decks, and more learning resources. See you next time. Bye! Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about could have, should have, and would have, what they mean, how to use them in the negative, and the differences between them. So let's get started. First, I want to begin with could have. Let's look at the positive and the negative meanings of could have. First, positive. We use could have, positive, for something that was possible in the past. So to give kind of an image of this, if our conversation is happening now, when we use could have, we're talking about something that had possibility in the past, something we were able to do, for example. An example sentence, if I had known you were throwing a surprise party, I could have helped. I could have helped. So here, could have shows us that this action, helping, was possible in the past. In this case, the speaker did not know some information, and as a result, this action did not happen, but it was possible at a point in the past. The speaker could have helped. Helping was a possibility in the past. So we use could have to express that possibility. The negative form, however, expresses the opposite. So in the negative, could not have expresses something that was impossible, so not possible in the past. So here, if we want to give an image, it's something that was not possible, something we were not able to do. Let's look at an example of this. No, that couldn't have been Sarah in the cafe just now. She's at the office. So here I'm using couldn't have, could not have, contracted, reduced, becomes couldn't. So that couldn't have been Sarah in the cafe just now. In other words, it's impossible that just now we saw Sarah in the cafe. Why? She's at the office. So in this case, maybe Sarah is the speaker's colleague, coworker. So we know Sarah is at the office. So we saw someone maybe who looks like Sarah at the cafe just now. But it's not possible it was Sarah because Sarah's at the office. So we can say that couldn't have been. So it's impossible that that was Sarah. So couldn't have been sounds much more natural than it's impossible that that was Sarah. So we use couldn't have been or could not have been. So positive form, something that was possible in the past. So be careful in maybe contrast. A key difference here is this is only about possibility. We're not talking about like a plan to do something or regret necessarily. We're only talking about possibility when we use could or could not here. So with this, let's move along to the next part. The next part, I want to focus on should have. So let's look at the positive form. Should have in the positive expresses regret for something we did not do in the past. So an image of this here, if our conversation is happening now, we want to talk about something we did not do in the past, and that now maybe we think, oh, it's a good idea, like I should have done this thing. I did not do this thing in the past. That's why I marked it with an X here. So I did not do this thing, but I feel bad now. I feel regret. Like I should have done that thing in the past. So an example sentence of this: I should have studied more when I was in school. Here is the should have. I should have, and this action, studied more. So, in other words, the speaker did not study enough in the past. The speaker feels he or she did not study enough in the past, regrets that, and wants to express the change. Like, I wish I had done this thing. I should have studied more when I was in school. So here we have more. This is a common pattern with should have or should not have. When we use more, it means I should have studied more than I did when I was in school. So here, the speaker is expressing regret, sadness about something they did not do. Therefore, when we use the negative form, the speaker, again, expresses regret, yes, but they're expressing regret for something that happened in the past, something they did in the past. So I've marked it here with a check. This action did happen, and we feel regret about that action. We feel bad about something we did in the past. An example: I shouldn't have spent so much time playing video games when I was a kid. So here I've used shouldn't have. So should not have is how we make the negative form. I've reduced it shouldn't have in rapid speech, shouldn't have. I shouldn't have spent so much time playing video games. So what's the action here? The speaker played video games when he or she was a child. The speaker now regrets that. The speaker says, I shouldn't have spent so much time. I should have spent less time playing video games. So I could use positive should have. I should have spent less time playing video games when I was a kid. Here, I shouldn't have spent so much time. So here, a key point with should have is that we're expressing regret. Remember, with could have, we're talking just about possibility. With should have, we're expressing a regret for something that did or did not happen in the past. So, with this in mind, let's go on to the last point for this lesson. The last point is would have, would have. So, when we say would have, we often say would have. Would have. I mentioned it here with should have, we say should have or shouldn't have. Same thing with could have, like could have or couldn't have is the correct pronunciation in fast speech. So when we talk about would have, or when we look at would have, and we look at the positive form, we use it to express a plan for something that did not happen. So we're talking about something in the past. So from a point in the past, something in the future at that time, we had a plan for that thing, or we thought something was going to happen. But in the positive form, it did not happen. This is kind of tricky. Let's look at an example situation. Here, I would have arrived on time today, but there was terrible traffic, so I did not arrive on time. So first, here's my action. I would have arrived on time. So I had a plan, or I had a desire. I was thinking I was going to arrive on time. So at this point in time, I would have arrived on time today. Maybe we're thinking when I left the house, maybe this is where the action starts. My plan was to arrive on time. So again, this is all happening in the past. My conversation is here. I was planning to arrive on time, but there was terrible traffic. Terrible traffic means lots and lots of cars. It was difficult to drive or difficult to get to work. So I did not arrive on time. I would have arrived on time, but I didn't because of terrible traffic. So this shows us, this would have shows us all of this information, everything here happened in the past on like a timeline. So I thought I was going to arrive on time, something happened and I didn't. So we can use would have to show like our thinking in this point, would have in the past, about a future action that is also in the past. So a couple of past points there at the same time. Okay. So let's compare this then to the negative form. The negative form then expresses the opposite. So we have a lack of plan or a lack of a desire. So lack of something means no plan or no desire. So lack of plan for something that happened in the past. It did happen, yes. So we commonly use both of these to talk about other people's choices, like when we're giving advice. This example sentence is a very common way that we use would not have or wouldn't have. Let's look. If I were you, I wouldn't have quit my job before I found a new position. So here is my would not have. I've reduced it to wouldn't have. I would not have quit my job before I found a new position. So that means if I were you, this is how we're beginning this. This is a very common way that this would have or would not have is used. So if I were you, I'm not you, but if I were, at this point in time in the past, my decision would not have been to quit my job. However, your decision was to quit your job. This did happen. You quit your job. In my case, I would not have done that. So here, in opposite to the positive form, I'm talking about a point in the past, like if I were you, just in general, and I'm talking about a future decision I might make. In this case, the person listening did choose to quit his or her job. I'm saying I would not have quit my job. That would not have been my decision for the future. So again, there's kind of this idea of 2 points in the past, like a kind of a general, I guess, a starting point in the past, if I were you, in this case, and some decision, some plan, some like desire or lack of desire in this case in the negative form. So we use these, like I said, to talk about like other people's choices when we're giving advice. Like, oh, if I were you, I would have done this in the past. So we use would have to talk about past decisions and maybe to talk about things like if you were the speaker, like things you might change. What would you do differently? So we use this to talk about these sorts of past decisions and give advice and talk about how we might make different decisions in the future. So this kind of expresses a desire or lack of desire. This one should have expresses regret in the past. Could have expresses possibility. So this is just a quick introduction to the differences between these three expressions and their negative forms. I didn't write the not here, so would not have. But if you have any other questions about this, please let us know in the comments. They are very similar, I know. They sound very similar, and it can be hard to understand how to use them, but try to keep these three kind of themes in mind. Possibility and regret, and then kind of desire or advice here. So I hope that this helps you understand the differences between these three. If you have questions or comments, or if you want to practice making an example sentence, please feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. Of course, if you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. Now, if you're wondering how to remember these words forever so that you can start speaking more and more, here's how. 1. Review them with our spaced repetition flashcards. Our flashcards will drill these words into your long-term memory. 2. Save the words to our word bank, your personal collection of words, where you can print out physical study sheets. And 3. Watch our looped vocabulary slideshows on repeat until you understand every word. You'll find these tools inside our learning program. Just click the link in the description to get them. Welcome to EnglishClass101.com's English in 3 minutes, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn English. Hi, how's it going? I'm Alicia. Nice to meet you. In this series, we're going to learn some easy ways to ask and answer common questions in English. It's really useful, and it only takes 3 minutes. In this lesson, you're going to learn new,
More common ways to ask and answer the question, "How are you?" in English. You've probably learned, "How are you?" and "I'm fine" in textbooks before, but in the United States, people will usually ask this question and answer it in a different way. First, let's review. If someone says, "How are you?" you can say, "I'm fine." I'm fine. Here are some other ways to answer. Pretty good. This means about the same thing as "I'm fine." Pretty good. We also have not bad. You can use this if you are feeling just okay or so-so. Not bad. Let's look at our question again. How are you? This is the most well-known way of asking how someone is. You could use it when you want to be polite. But now, let's look at some different ways to ask how someone is. These ways are more casual and much more common. First, "Hey, how's it going?" Hey, how's it going? You can answer this in many ways. If you're feeling good, you can say, "Good." Good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Not bad. Not bad. Once more, good. Pretty good. Not bad. Here's a tip. Even though these answers mean the same thing as "I'm fine," you can't answer "How's it going?" with "I'm fine." It will sound a bit strange. If you're not feeling good, you can say "Not so good." Not so good. Not great. Not great. Or not so well. Not so well. Be careful. If you say one of these, the other person will usually ask, "Why? What's wrong?" to be polite. Then you will have to explain. Another casual but very common version of "How are you?" is "What's up?" What's up? To reply, use a cheerful voice as you say, "Not much," "Not much," or "Nothing much," "Nothing much." This means you're free and able to chat. Since "What's up?" is just another way of saying hello, you can also reply with "Hey" or "Hi." Now it's time for Alicia's advice. A lot of the time, when we ask questions that mean, "How are you?" in English, we're not actually asking about the other person's health. We're only asking to be polite. You should think of these questions as another way of saying hello, a way for the conversation to get started, instead of actual, literal questions. In fact, when someone asks you, "What's up?" you don't even have to answer. Just say, "What's up?" in reply. Do you know the difference between "What do you do?" and "What are you doing?" It's a little tricky, but we'll explain it simply in the next English in 3 minutes lesson. See you next time.
Hi everyone, I'm Gabriella. How are your English listening skills? In this video, you'll have a chance to test them out with a quiz. First, you'll see an image and hear a question. Next comes a short dialogue. Listen carefully and see if you can answer correctly. We'll show you the answer at the end. Are you ready?
A woman is asking a store clerk something at a bookstore. Which book does the woman want to see? Excuse me, I'd like to take a look at a book on that shelf.
Which book would you like?
The one about cars.
One moment, please. This one?
Yep, that's right.
Here you go.
Which book does the woman want to see? A woman is asking a store clerk something at a bookstore. Which book does the woman want to see? Excuse me, I'd like to take a look at a book on that shelf.
Which book would you like?
The one about cars.
One moment, please. This one?
Yep, that's right.
Here you go.
Did you get it right? I hope you learned something from this quiz. Let us know if you have any questions. See you next time.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Ask Alicia, the weekly series where you ask me questions and I answer them. Maybe. Okay, let's get to your first question this week. First question this week comes from Sadaf. Hi Sadaf. Sadaf says, hi Alicia, my question is when do we use actually and when do we use really? I'm always confused about whether to use really or actually in a sentence. Love from Pakistan. Cool, thanks for the question. Sure, yeah, let's talk about really and actually. Let's start with the word really. We use really to emphasize something. We tend to use it a lot, for example, in front of adjectives, when we want to show that something is especially or extra that adjective. For example, this is really beautiful, or that dinner was really delicious. You can think of this use as similar to very, right? So when we want to emphasize something, we say that it is really something. In contrast, actually is used to talk about things that are truly something else. So I can understand why really and actually might seem like they have similar uses, but we use actually when we want to clarify something, when we want to express that something is true or something was real. So we use this when maybe someone has made a comment that is not true or is not correct, and we want to correct their comment. So for example, if someone says to you, hey, didn't you pass your English exam last week? That was last week, right? You might say, actually, my exam is next week. So that actually means truly or really, or it's like a kind of correction to the thing the other person said. So we use actually when we need to correct or clarify something. We use really when we need to emphasize something. Here's another example with actually. Let's look at another example situation. Hey, I haven't received that file yet. Did you send it to me? Oh, actually, I forgot. I'm so sorry about that. So in that example situation, it might be someone clarifying the situation for another person. So they use actually to express some kind of true or real information. So I hope that this helps you understand the differences between really and actually. Emphasis and kind of clarification or correction of information. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's get to your next question. Next question comes from Nabil. Hi Nabil. Nabil says, what is the difference between or and nor? Thank you. Yeah, good question. They seem really similar, right? Or and nor. There's just one letter different. So we use or and nor in positive and negative expressions. For example, when you're choosing between two things, someone might offer you a choice. They might say, would you like the red shirt or the blue shirt, for example? So we're using or to show an offer in this case, or we're using it in a question pattern. We use nor in negative sentence patterns. For example, you might respond to that as, I would like neither the red shirt nor the blue shirt. So you're showing that both of the options are not what you want. They're not what you're looking for. We use nor to express that. This tends to sound a little bit more formal. We don't use these kinds of patterns so much in everyday speech now, but you might hear them from time to time. So the key here, though, is that you're using it in a negative sentence. In this example, I said, I would like neither the red shirt nor the blue shirt. So using or in this example sentence would be incorrect. I would like neither the red shirt or the blue shirt would be totally incorrect. We have to match the negative, neither, with nor in this sentence pattern. So if you want to express that two choices or multiple choices are all not acceptable for you and you want to use this kind of pattern, you can totally do that. But just remember, you can't interchange or and nor. So in sum, or is used to present different options like colors or maybe sizes, whatever it is, and nor is used to respond to those in a negative sentence pattern. So I hope that this helps you understand the differences between or and nor. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's go to your next question. Next question comes from Sergey. Hi, Sergey. Sergey says, "Hi, teacher. Hope all is well. I just watched your video about the word shoot, and it reminded me of a song by Divine called Shoot Your Shot. I thought the name of the song is something like an English idiom, and the meaning is do what you consider you have to do. Am I right? Is this expression used nowadays?" Yeah, good question. So shoot your shot. Yes, you're very close with your example with do what you consider you need to do. The expression shoot your shot, it might be helpful to think of this as a sports-related expression. You can think of shoot your shot as meaning try to do the thing that you think you want to do. So for example, if you imagine a basketball player trying to shoot his or her shot, they try to make a basket in this example situation. So when you say shoot your shot to someone, it means try to do the thing that you think you want to do. There are many different situations where we use this expression. We tend to use it a lot in situations that have kind of a challenging feel, or maybe that make us a little bit nervous. Like for example, asking someone out on a date or talking to someone that you find attractive in a social situation. You might try to encourage your friend and say, "Go on, shoot your shot," which means try to talk to that person or try to get to know that person. So in those situations, it's always like try to do the thing that you want to do, or give it a go is another way you might hear this expressed. So these are all kind of encouraging expressions that are like saying, try it. If you think you need to do it or you think you want to do it, give it a try. So that's what this shoot your shot expression means. Thanks very much for the question. I hope that it helped you. Okay, that is everything that I have for this week. Thank you, as always, for your great questions. Remember, you can send them to me at englishclass101.com/ask-Alicia. There is a link in the description if you want to check that out there. Also, please don't forget, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you have not already. Also, check us out at englishclass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this week's episode of Ask Alicia, and I will see you again next time. Bye! Remember, here's what you can do to learn all of these words by heart. Drill these words with our spaced repetition flashcards, which will help cement these words into your long-term memory. Save them to the Word Bank, your personal vocabulary collection, where you can print out your own study sheets, or review the words with our looped vocabulary slideshow, and play it until you know all of the words. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to get these lessons and study tools. Yeah! Hi everybody, welcome back to Top Words. My name is Alicia, and today we're going to be talking about tongue twisters. Tongue twisters are phrases that are difficult to say, so they're really good chances to practice your pronunciation. Let's go. Sally sold seashells by the seashore. Sally sold seashells by the seashore. This one's difficult because of the s and sh sounds. Sally sold seashells by the seashore. Sally sold seashells by the seashore. Sally sold seashells by the seashore. That one's not so bad. Okay, we'll move on. Next. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. I've never seen this before. Okay. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. That's a good one. That's a good one. I feel like you could have thrown the word like but in there somewhere too. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. Ah, that's a good one. It's very bubbly. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. It's like if I knew the words, I could probably say it faster. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. Butter's bitter. Bitter, butter, bitter. But she bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. Is this enough? I don't know when to stop. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? The next tongue twister is also a classic one about woodchucks. Woodchucks are real creatures that exist on the west coast of the United States, primarily in Washington and Oregon. They're like beavers, but they don't live in rivers. They live in like forests and rocks. The tongue twister is, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? And then there's a common response to that, which is, it would chuck all the wood that a woodchuck could if a woodchuck could chuck wood. We definitely talked about this one in that English topics episode we did about tongue twisters. Lesser leather, never weathered, wetter weather better. Oh, I've never seen this. Lesser leather, never weathered, wetter weather better? Hang on, I'm just like astounded by the grammar of this sentence. Lesser leather, never weathered, wetter weather better. Oh, that's hard.
It's the wetter weather better. Wetter weather better part. Those last three words. Lesser leather, never weathered, wetter better. Lesser leather, never weathered, wetter weather better. Wetter weather better. Weather. It's the weather better that's hard. Weather better. Weather better, weather better, wetter weather better. Yeah, that's it. Lesser leather, never weathered, wetter weather better. On to the next one. If two witches would watch two watches, which witch would watch which watch? If two witches would watch two watches, which witch would watch which watch? Did you write these? Did you write these? Did you find these on the internet? Someone's brilliant. If two witches would watch two watches, which witch would watch which watch? Oh, that one's a good one. If two witches would watch two watches, which witch would watch which witch would watch which watch? All right, that's the end. Wow, those are really good tongue twisters. The one that always gets me from that episode of English Topics that we did was Irish wristwatch. Irish wristwatch. Hard one. And one we came up with the other day was sushi session. It's a good one, right? Yeah. They were like, let's go for a sushi session. I was like, that's hard. Sushi session, sushi session, sushi. That's a really good one too. Irish wristwatch and sushi session. All right, so those are Those are tongue twisters. Give them a try. They are really, really great ways to practice your pronunciation. If you know any other tongue twisters, please share them with us in a comment so that we can all give them a try. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Top Words. If you liked this video, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Thanks very much for watching this episode, and we'll see you again soon. Bye. Oh my God, I want to have this job where I just sit at like my desk and I just think of, that's probably what somebody does, like they're bored at their job and they just think of these sorts of things. Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. Welcome back to Top Words. Today we're going to talk about 10 ways to stop translating in your head. Let's get started. Identify objects around you in English. The first way to stop translating in your head is to identify the objects around you in your target language. So if you're studying English, that means you look at the objects around the room. Look at the things in your life. Don't think of them in your native language first. Think of them in your target language first. So if I look around the room, I see a computer, I shouldn't think my native language word, I should think my target language word. So start with the items and the situations in your everyday life. If I say computer in English, maybe I should say computer in Japanese. I should say not, water in English. I should say omizu in Japanese. So start associating the words in your target language with your everyday life now. So if you're studying English, that means start getting familiar with the things in your everyday life in English. Repeat phrases you hear native speakers use. Tip number 2 is to repeat the phrases that you hear native speakers use. So if you're watching this channel, for example, or you're watching a TV show or a movie, listen for the way that native speakers make those phrases. If you hear a phrase you have never heard before, or you hear an interesting combination of words, try to repeat them yourself. Don't just listen. Try to say them yourself. If you're in a public space and it's difficult for you to do that, fine. Practice in a place where you feel more comfortable. Maybe if you have some private space to practice. Just repeat them. Get your mouth used to saying the words the way that the speakers, the native speakers do. So if you never actually say words, if you're only taking in, if you're only listening and you're not actually producing the language, it's kind of hard to practice and to really hone your pronunciation, to improve your pronunciation. So when you listen to native speakers, try to repeat after them. So for example, if you're studying English, you can try to repeat after this video. You can repeat after the things I'm saying, because maybe I'm using an expression or I'm using a certain series of vocabulary words together the way a native speaker would. And it's maybe a good idea to try to practice the ways that native speakers put their words together. So try to repeat after native speakers.
especially when you're looking at media. And you can do this when you're reading books too. You can try to read out loud interesting lines of books that you find or something that maybe is difficult for you. Very nice practice tip. Make a situation where you can't escape into your native language. Make a situation where you can't escape into your native language essentially means immerse yourself. Of course, going to that country or going to a place where you can speak only that language is very difficult for some of you. Totally understand. But if in your life you can create a situation in your library, in your room, in your house, somewhere, for just an hour or, I don't know, maybe a day. I don't know what your schedule is like. But if you can create a situation or create an environment where you have no choice but to use that language and you cannot escape, meaning you cannot go back to using your native language as a crutch. You can't use the native language at all. It forces you to use the language that you're studying. So, of course, if you are lucky enough to live in the country or to live in a place where people speak the language you're studying, great. But you have to go out and interact with people. You have to put yourself in a place where you have no choice but to speak. It's very hard and it's very scary and it's very embarrassing at first. But if you take time to find places and to make environments that are comfortable for you, where you feel comfortable making mistakes and asking questions, it's very valuable for your learning process. This is actually something that I did. I totally did this. My Japanese wasn't very good for a long time, but then I started making friends who could not speak English. Actually, I just did this through finding hobbies. There was a hobby that I had. I joined a group. I joined actually a school where I could learn how to do that hobby. And everything was taught only in Japanese. And the people in my class only spoke Japanese, mostly. And then maybe we would go out for drinks and food late at night or on the weekends, and everybody spoke only Japanese. And if I couldn't communicate even simply in Japanese, I had no hope of keeping that friendship together. So it forced me to study. It forced me to think about the words they were using and to try to learn those words, those patterns, as well as how to produce them naturally myself. So I was learning the vocabulary words the people around me were using and learning how to apply them on my own. That was only possible because I had no escape in those situations. So try to do that, even if you can do it yourself in your house. It's super helpful, I think. Watch TV and movies in your target language without subtitles. Tip number 4 is to watch TV and movies in your target language without subtitles. So I think that watching with subtitles can be very beneficial. So if I'm watching something, or if you want to watch something with subtitles on, great. But I sometimes find that in my case, I think too much about reading the subtitles and I forget to listen. So maybe if you've seen a movie in your target language a few times with the subtitles on, try turning the subtitles off and think about the character's body language, the words they're using. You can always look that up later. Look up the words you don't know in a dictionary, but try to do it where you're focusing completely on the way that people are using their words. Try not to use the subtitles. So kind of play around with it a little bit. If there's a word that's difficult for you to hear, you can actually turn on the subtitles in the native language of the movie as well. That's something that I've done. If I wanted to study Japanese, it's very useful when the actual words spoken in Japanese appear on the screen. Sometimes it's easier for me to catch a word if I see it visually and I hear it at the same time. So another way to kind of explore how you can use TV and movies is to actually turn on the closed captions, like the words on the screen in the native language of the movie. So this is sort of 2 points in one. So 1, watch movies without subtitles, meaning subtitles in your native language. And hint 2 is to watch movies with closed captioning on, but the closed captioning is in your target language, not in your native language. So you can try those 2 things with TV and with movies. Don't bring a dictionary to your lesson. Tip number 5 is don't bring a dictionary to your lesson. Okay, so give me a second here. So I understand that dictionaries, especially electronic dictionaries, we have them on our phones now, are very, very convenient. Of course, it's important to use them, and they're a great resource to have. However, one thing that really bothers me and that I think is detrimental, it's not helpful for students, is when students are in a lesson and they're practicing conversation and they reach a point in the conversation where they don't know the word they want to use. They know it in their native language and they don't know how to say it in their target language. They pull out their dictionary. They say to the person listening to them, their practice partner in their lesson where they have a limited period of time, just a moment. And then they look it up on their phone and it takes a few seconds. The flow of the conversation stops. And then they say a word. And it's like, whoa, no, you don't have that ability. You don't have the ability to do that in a conversation with a native speaker. Most people, like if you go to a bank and try to open a bank account, are you really going to pull out your dictionary and sit there and try to communicate, just a moment, as you look up each word you don't know? No. Or if you do, that's not a real conversation. So instead, try using a different strategy. By that, I mean, if you find a word you don't know in conversation, explain the word to your conversation partner. Maybe they know the word. If you're speaking with a native speaker, this is a chance for them to teach you a word. I find that when people take the time to teach me a word, I remember the word much better than just looking it up on my dictionary. So try to resist. Maybe you can bring a dictionary to your lesson, but don't use it or try not to use it in your conversation practice. It destroys the flow of a conversation. So instead, practice the skill of describing the vocabulary word you want to use and learn how to ask the meaning of a word or learn how to ask for a vocabulary word from your partner. So you can use an expression like, what's the word that means blah, blah, blah. Or, it's this thing that does this and this and this. So this is an opportunity for you to describe characteristics of something or find a different way. You can use your body language. You can use whatever. You have a lot of tools, but try not to use a dictionary in a conversation because it's not realistic. Train responses to common questions. Number 6 is a quick one, I think. Hint number 6 I have is just to train responses to common questions. Train responses to common questions. So, for example, a very common question in English is, hey, how are you? You should know how to answer this question. Just have a default response. Hey, how are you? I'm good. If it takes you a long time to answer the question, hey, how are you? You need to practice. I think that's a pretty good indicator. So, for example, sometimes I ask students a question like that they haven't quite gotten the idea of how to respond just yet. They're not so quick at responding. I say, hey, how are you? And they say, yes. And then they think and they go, I'm good. And it's like, that's a very common question. So think about just a default response that you can spit out, that you can quickly say. If it's, how was your weekend? Or, hey, what's up? Or, what do you want to do for dinner tonight? Think about just a handful, meaning just a few responses to those questions and train them quickly. Just, how are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm okay. How are you? Not bad. There's 3. So it's just training responses to those questions. There's no reason to be surprised by a question like, how are you? That's a very common question. So for those common questions, train responses to that. We've got a bunch of videos, especially beginner level videos for some example responses you can do. So don't get stuck with these little questions. Just train a few responses, practice a few responses till they feel natural to you. It'll save you time and it'll help the person asking the question too to move forward in the conversation. Yay! Study with materials that don't provide a translation. The next tip is to study with materials that don't provide a translation. So by this I mean, if you're using worksheets or some kind of textbook or whatever, and it has your target language, the language you're studying, and it has your native language next to it. while this can be useful, I feel that if you can, studying your materials only in your target language and then simplified explanations for more detailed points, also in your target language, can be a little bit better. So I don't want to say like you should only study things in your target language and nothing from your native language, because of course, like it can be helpful sometimes to look up a word or to understand a grammar point in your native language. But where possible, if you can find something that provides simplified explanations in your target language, it can be really, really helpful because again, you're learning to think on like a simpler, on a more basic level about the language you're studying in the language that you're studying. So this can be really, really good. So finding some materials to use where there's no translation. Maybe you can practice, of course, with books and with written materials, but also with like video materials as well. So there are a variety of different ways that you can find materials in your target language, like in video and TV. So some things to think about there are the level of vocabulary words people are using in the media content you're watching, who the media content is intended for, children, young adults, the speed at which the speaker is talking. So like I have the ability to change the level of difficulty of videos based on the rate of speech, the vocabulary words that I use, and how many like idioms and things I use. So I could make a video very difficult. We could make a very difficult video series by leveling up our vocabulary use or by speaking very quickly. Or, as you might see in like our English in 3 Minutes series, we can also use very simple vocabulary and speak at a low rate of speech. So maybe right now this is a very intermediate level video. So please think about that. So not just for written materials, but also for your audio and visual materials. Think about who your audience is, the level of the material, and so on. It can be really fun. And it can be helpful to think about your target language in your target language. All right, we're almost done. Study phrases in addition to single vocabulary. The next tip is study phrases in addition to single vocabulary words. So yes, of course, vocabulary is important, but I find it personally very, very useful to look at how a vocabulary word is used in a phrase, because sometimes using it in a phrase helps you understand the nuance of that vocabulary word really, really well. So if like a word like crazy, for example, in English, depending on the situation where the word crazy is used, it could mean something different. It could mean like a person who is mentally confused or mixed up. It could also mean something really good. It could mean something really bad. So if we look only at the word crazy, it's quite difficult to understand really the meaning of the word. But if you look at the way the word is used in a phrase, you can get a lot more information. So take a look at the way people use words in phrases, not just as single vocabulary words. You can learn a lot more that way, I think. Do your daily activities in English where possible. The next tip is to do your daily activities in your target language. So if you're studying English, that means try to do some daily activities in English if possible. So this can be very, very boring stuff, but just think about it when you're doing the activity. So like right now, I'm filming a video for EnglishClass101.com, or I'm going to work, I'm cooking breakfast, I'm doing the laundry. What do I have to do tomorrow? So try thinking about your everyday life in English if you're studying English. Try thinking about your everyday activities, the people that you meet. What are you doing? So this is a way to help you practice your verbs. So if you don't know, if you're doing something at work and you're like, oh my gosh, how do I explain what's the verb for, a picture? Like I want to blah, 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 a picture. What's the word? You can check a dictionary at that point and go, it's draw. I need to use the verb draw for draw a picture. So you can find these little gaps in your everyday life, these little gaps in your knowledge, if you think about your everyday activities in your target language. If you don't think about it in your target language, you might not realize you have vocabulary gaps or phrase gaps here and there. So this is a really good and kind of funny, actually, way to study. Use a learner's dictionary for new words. The last tip is to use a learner's dictionary for new words. So in English, there are learner's dictionaries available in English. So my personal favorite is Merriam-Webster. Merriam-Webster is a fantastic dictionary resource. They're so interesting and they have tons of historical information. I really do just sit and read things on the dictionary page lately. It's true. But of course, there's a definition, there's a meaning for words, there are example sentences for words, but Merriam-Webster also has what's called a learner's dictionary. If you find a word that you don't recognize, you can check it in a dictionary, in a learner's dictionary, and it gives you a simple explanation in simple English of that word. So instead of checking it in your native language, you can check it in your target language. So again, this helps you to understand the word that you're focused on, but you understand it from the language you're studying, not from your native language. So using a learner's dictionary can be really, really useful as well. All right, so those are 10 tips. Those are 10 tips to help you stop translating in your head. I know it's very difficult, but it takes time and it takes practice, and I hope that these are a few strategies that can help you as you study any language. Of course, this is an English language channel, an English language learning channel, but I think these tips are pretty good for learning just about any language, really. So I hope those are useful for you. If you have tried these strategies, or if you have any other comments or other tips, please let us know in the comment section below this video. If you liked this video, please make sure to hit the thumbs up, share this video, and subscribe to our channel too. Check us out at EnglishClass101.com for more good stuff as well. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Top Words, and I will see you again soon. Bye! Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. Welcome back to Top Words. Today we're going to talk about 10 job interview questions and a few responses to those job interview questions. So let's go! Tell me a little about yourself. Statement number 1 is tell me a little about yourself, or tell me a little bit about yourself. This is a very common interview introduction question, or the first question in an interview. Tell me about yourself is just an open question. Please share, or basically introduce yourself. This usually means you should share what you studied in college, your work experience, any personal projects you've tried to do or have successfully done, other experience you think is relevant. So this is an invitation for you to give a general introduction about yourself. In an example sentence, well, I got my bachelor's degree in biochemistry. How did you hear about the position? How did you hear about the position? How did you hear about the position? This question means how did you learn about this job that you are interviewing for? How did you find this job opening? So how did you hear about the position? This is where you can explain maybe where you found the information about the job. So you found it on the internet, in the newspaper, you heard from a friend, you were contacted by a recruiter. So there are a few different ways that you can share with your interviewer how you found the position, how you heard about the job. In a sentence, I found an advertisement about the job on the internet. Why are you interested in this position? Next is, why are you interested in the position? Why are you interested in the position? This is your chance to explain why you want this job. Why are you interested in this position? So usually you should not say for the money or because this is a really, there are a lot of attractive people at this company. I don't know. You should say something in response to this question about your career goals, or maybe something specific about the company that you like, or something very specific about the job that is available there and how you feel your skills are a match for that job. So explain why you're interested in that position, the reason you decided to apply for that job. In a sentence, I think I'm a good fit for the company and its goals. Why should we hire you? The next interview question is, why should we hire you? Why should we hire you? So this is your opportunity to explain why you feel you are the best candidate for the job. So if you have any special qualifications, you have certifications, you have specific experience, you have a specific goal in mind, this is the kind of question you can share that information in response to. Why should we hire you? Because I can speak 6 different languages and I know how to create a website in 10 minutes. I don't know. So if you have some kind of special qualifications, you can share those qualifications in response to this question. In another example sentence, I'm a goal-oriented person who likes to work at a fast pace. What do you consider your strengths and weaknesses? The next question is a common question. What do you consider your strengths and weaknesses? What do you consider your strengths and weaknesses? Or what are your strengths and weaknesses? So strengths means strong points, things you are good at. Weaknesses is your weak points, things you are not very good at. So you should be honest to a degree, but be careful. So this should be in a professional setting. Keep that in mind. It's a professional setting. If you want to talk about your weaknesses, don't say like, I eat too much chocolate, or don't say like, I love sleeping, or whatever. Talk about your professional strengths and your professional weaknesses. And also with your weaknesses, it would be a good idea to talk about how you improve those weaknesses, or how you work with your team members or work in a company to try to reduce the effect of those weaknesses. So for example, I'm very detail-oriented, but I often take on too much at one time. So like in my case, that's the case. Like I'm very detail-oriented, but I often take on too much. So do too many things at one time. So I could explain, okay, so I'm very detail-oriented, but if I'm trying to take on too much, maybe I say I communicate with my coworkers about what should be prioritized, and that helps me organize my time better. So when you introduce your weakness, talk about the ways you try to reduce the effect of that weakness. That can be one technique. So your good points and your bad points in this question. Tell me about a time when you overcame a challenge at work. Some interviewers may ask this question. Tell me about a time when you overcame a challenge at work. So it's not really a question. They're asking you to tell a story. So tell me about a time when you overcame a challenge at work. So they want to hear an example from your professional experience about how you solved a problem. What did you do to solve a problem at work? They want to know what kind of problem it was and how you approached the problem and the result of that problem. So you could say, for example, our company party was scheduled for the day before Christmas, but the restaurant exploded and I had to find a new place to have the party. I don't know. That's not, of course, a crazy example, but giving your employer an idea of how you solve problems and maybe the kind of mental state you have when you solve the problems can be helpful in making a hiring decision. So, in an example, when I was having trouble communicating with a client, I reached out to a coworker for support. What are your career goals? The next question is, what are your career goals? Your career goals. So not necessarily in this company, but in your career overall. In the interview, it's probably a good idea to include the company where you are currently interviewing in your career goals. But keep in mind, like, you should be explaining a goal, or you should be sharing a goal that is in line with the company's work. So if your goal is to open a cupcake shop, but you're interviewing for like an IT job where you're going to be like, I don't know, installing Windows 10 on people's computers, maybe this doesn't really match. So make sure that your career goal and the job you're interviewing for align. Those two should be kind of aligned. It'll help your interviewer and it will help you, I think. So in an example sentence, I want to create a global advertising campaign strategy. So maybe you're interviewing for a marketing job, for example. You could say that's your career goal. I would love to design a global marketing campaign strategy, for example. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? The next question, a very common one, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? This question means after 5 years. 5 years from this point in time, what is your vision for you? What is your vision of yourself professionally? So what do you want to have achieved after 5 years? So a good tip for this question is to explain where you will be having made contributions to the company where you are interviewing. So if I'm interviewing at Apple and Apple says, where do you see yourself in 5 years, Alicia? And I say, I see myself at Microsoft. Like, that sounds really bad. So try to share your goals for yourself in a 5-year period, but again, try to align them with the company where you're interviewing and explain like how you plan to contribute to the company and develop yourself professionally. That can be a really good way to answer this question. For example, I see myself in a managerial position in this company, working on multiple projects for multiple markets. Ooh. Why do you want to work here? The next question is, why do you want to work here? Why do you want to work here? So similar to why are you interested in this position? That one's like, that question is very much about this job in particular. But the question, why do you want to work here, means why do you want to work in this company, like in this place specifically? So share something about the company that you like, or share something, some reason the company is attractive to you as a candidate. So maybe it's the location, or maybe it's the ability to work overseas, or maybe it's an international environment, or maybe you can use your English skills. Some reason why you're interested in working at this company specifically. Share that after this question. So example, I think there's a lot to learn and I think there are opportunities for promotion. Do you have any questions for me? Last one. The last question is very common. Do you have any questions for me? Do you have any questions for me? Interviewers will often ask this question at the end of an interview, inviting the candidate to ask questions about the company. It is usually a very good idea to prepare some questions for the interviewer. So it's also a good idea to research your company or research the university you're interviewing for before the interview. So if you have questions about the company policy, that sort of thing, it's a great chance to ask your interviewer. Generally, however, it's not a good idea to ask specific questions about pay or vacation in the interview, as you can be seen as maybe being too money or too vacation focused. That might come a little later. If you say, what's the salary for this job? Like, unless it's a kind of a close situation, that might be too direct a question. But instead, ask some things about the company. Ask your interviewer what it's like to work there, what your interviewer thinks is good about working for the company, or maybe what your interviewer thinks the company's planning to do over the next few years. Ask something of your interviewer. So it shows that you are interested in that company and that you want to learn more and participate more with that company. So make sure to have some questions prepared when your interviewer asks, do you have any questions for me? So example question, what do you think is the most rewarding part about working here? So those are 10 job interview questions and a few different ways you can respond to them. So I think those are useful for job interviews, yes, but maybe if you interview for like a university or interview for a scholarship or something, you can use similar responses to similar questions. So if you have any questions or comments, please let us know in the comment section below this video. If you liked the video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel as well. Check us out at EnglishClass101.com for more good stuff, and thanks very much for watching this episode of Top Words. I'll see you again soon. Bye!
Hi everybody, my name is Alicia, and today we're going to be talking about the top 25 English phrases. So let's get started. The first phrase is hello. Hello, of course, is used as a greeting. You can greet your friends, you can greet your coworkers, your family with this phrase just by saying hello. Hey, hi, what's up? Hello. Sup? Yo. Pretty much any time of day you can use hello. Hello. The next phrase is good morning. Good morning is used as a greeting in the morning. You can kind of feel when morning ends for you. Good morning is nice and polite, or even just morning with your close friends or close coworkers. The next phrase is good night. Good night is fine. We don't use this to greet other people. We use it when we're saying goodbye to other people at night. Family members, particularly mothers and fathers, to say good night to their children before they put them to bed. You can say it to your friend in a text message or in an email if you've been talking for a while. Good night. So the next word to talk about is goodbye. Use it when you say goodbye to your friends, when you leave your friends. Goodbye. Bye, of course. Take care. Have a nice day. Peace out. That's another way to say goodbye. Okay, the next phrase is I'm plus your name. Of course, this is a way to introduce yourself. You can use I'm, in my case, Alicia. I'm Alicia to introduce yourself in any situation. New friend, I'm Alicia. Okay, the next phrase is what's your name? What's your name is used to ask someone else what their name is. So, what is your name sounds a bit. Try to use what's your name. If you forget someone's name, you can say, sorry, what's your name? Or sorry, what's your name again? Next phrase is nice to meet you. Nice to meet you anytime you meet someone new. Nice to meet you is fine. Good to meet you is a little more casual. Great to meet you sounds very excited. Pleasure to meet you sounds like maybe a formal situation or a business context. Okay, the next phrase is how are you? How are you it's just a friendly way to check in with the other person. You can use it with friends, your family, your coworkers, maybe even your boss to a certain degree. How are ya? How you doing? The next phrase is I'm fine, thanks. And you? If you saw English in 3 minutes, we talked a lot about this phrase. Instead of I'm fine, thank you, and you, say I'm good, thanks. How are you? Just shorten it, make it a little bit more natural. How are you? Good. How are you? Great. How are you? Not so good. How are you? Okay. And so on. So when someone says, how are you? I usually say, I'm good. This week, I blah, blah, blah. Give some information about what you've been up to. Maybe a hobby, something that you did recently, an event, something interesting you saw, whatever. People want to make that connection with you, and it's a good chance for you to continue speaking. The next word is please. Please is a polite phrase used when you want something from someone else. You can use this as a response when someone offers you something, like in a restaurant, for example. Would you like more water? Would you like something to drink? Oh, please. The next phrase is thank you. Thank you is used to express your appreciation. You can use thank you with everybody. The next phrase is you're welcome. You're welcome. When someone says thank you, you can say you're welcome. No biggie. I use no biggie as in no biggie is short for no big problem. The next word is yes. Yes, of course. Yes means is any positive expression. Someone asks you a question and the answer is a positive answer. You say yes, yep, yeah. Oui. No. Next, I'm guessing I know it. Yep. The next word is no. No is a negative response to something when you have to give a negative answer. So as you can probably guess, the long form of no is negative. I like to use nope. It's very, very casual. Not gonna happen. My parents would use that with me. To soften that a little bit, if you want to show a negative response to something, like let's go out for dinner tonight. What do you want to do? Like, do you want to go out? Not really. No, I don't think so, to soften it. The next word is okay. Okay. This word comes from copy editors. Okay. When they had to check a manuscript, they had to label the manuscript all clear, AC. But because they were copy editors and they have a very, very sick sense of humor, they thought they would mark it OK for all clear to make a joke because O and K do not start all and clear. But it caught on among everybody in the world. Anyway, okay is used to agree with somebody else. Well, it can be used actually to express a positive or kind of a slight negative, I feel. Transitioning in your conversation, you can say, okay, now we're going to talk about blah, blah, blah. Okay. The next phrase is excuse me. Excuse me, it's used to get someone's attention in English when you don't know the other person. For example, in a store, a supermarket, maybe a stranger on the street, you need to ask directions. You can use excuse me. You can use excuse me in the supermarket. Excuse me, can you tell me where the hot sauce is? If you've done something rude in public, you can use excuse me. I personally do not do rude things in public ever. I'm sorry is the next word we're going to talk about. I'm sorry is used to apologize. When you have made a mistake or someone you know has made a mistake and you're connected to it or you just feel bad, you can use I'm sorry. You made a mistake at work. I'm sorry. You forgot to feed your cat. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. You bump someone next to you. Oh, sorry. What time is it is the next phrase when you need to check what time it is. What time is it? When you ask someone else what time it is, maybe you say this to yourself too. Check your watch, check your phone, check a clock. Pretty straightforward phrase. There aren't really any short versions, so that's an easy one. Where is the plus a location. So you can use this for a building or a store. We're not going to use this where is the for a place, a city name or a state name or a country name. To do that, you would need to remove the. But where is the bank? Where is the post office? You can use this to ask directions, to ask for help in your house or at work. Where is the copy machine? Where is the file I need? Where is the blah, blah, blah? Where is the bathroom is perhaps a very important question to know. The next one is, may I use the restroom? May I use the restroom is a polite and soft expression that you can use if you need to use the toilet, you need to use the washroom. When you're at someone's house for the very first time, when you're in a place that is new to you, you can ask, may I use the restroom? More casually, can I go to the bathroom? To be very polite, you can say, may I go to the bathroom? The next phrase is, I would like to order something. You can use this at a restaurant probably, or in any situation where you need to place an order. I'd like a pizza. I'd like a beer. Can I get the check, please? This will be used at a restaurant. When you've finished your meal and it's time to go, can I get the check, please? In a very, very casual situation, you can just say, check, please. That's fine. The next phrase is see you soon. See you soon is used with friends and family members, perhaps, when you expect to see them again soon after saying goodbye to them. This is used at the end of the conversation. You're going separate directions. You say, see you soon. See ya is also good, or just see you. To make it a little more formal, you can say, I'll see you again soon. Make a full sentence out of it that way. The next phrase is see you later. See you later is very similar to see you soon, but the point is with see you later is that you're probably going to meet that person again later on in the same day. The last phrase is really. Really is a very useful word because you can use it to show you are interested in a conversation with upward intonation. Really, really, tell me more. Or to show that you're not so interested in the conversation with downward intonation. Really. So there are many other words that you can use similar to really in this way, like seriously or oh, and so on. So it's a really good practice for your intonation. So those are 25 very common words and phrases in English. If you liked this video, if you like this topic, please subscribe. I'm sure there'll be a button here somewhere or a button here, wherever. But please be sure to subscribe to our channel because we're going to be doing more videos like this, and we already have more videos like this, so please be sure to check them out. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye. Really? Oh, interesting. Okay, I see. Great, fantastic, unbelievable. Gratitude, subjects. What do we have for dinner tonight? Pizza? Affirmative. I'll riff on that. I am Chris Hardwick.
In this video, you'll learn 20 of the most common words and phrases in English. Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. Welcome to the 800 Core English Words and Phrases video series. This series will teach you the 800 most common words and phrases in English. But there's a twist. With each new lesson in this series, we'll include the previous lessons at the end. So after you've learned the new words and phrases, stick around and review what you learned in previous lessons. Reviewing is one of the most important parts of learning a language. You can also get the full list right now at EnglishClass101.com. Click the link in the description to access more example sentences, create your own flashcard deck, and finally, master English. Okay, let's get started. First is hello. 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 Hello is the most basic greeting that you can use. You can use it with your friends, with your family members, with your coworkers. Any time of day is fine. Hello. How have you been? Hello. How have you been? Hello. How have you been? Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. So excuse me is the expression you can use when you bump into somebody or when you need to interrupt somebody who's working on something. It's a nice apology expression to use. Excuse me, how much is this? Excuse me, how much is this? Excuse me, how much is this? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So we use I'm sorry In cases where we make a mistake, so I did something wrong or I did something bad, I use I'm sorry to apologize. I'm sorry, it was a typo. I'm sorry, it was a typo. I'm sorry, it was a typo. Good night. Good night. Good night. So good night is the expression we use at the end of the day when we want to say goodbye to someone or when we want to wish our family members a good night of sleep. Good night, Grandma. Good night, Grandma. Good night, Grandma. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So nice to meet you is the expression we use the first time we meet someone. We don't use this like the second or the third time we see someone, only for the first time. Please come in. Nice to meet you. Please come in. Nice to meet you. Please come in. Nice to meet you. How are you? How are you? How are you? So how are you is used as a very general greeting. When we see our coworker for the first time or we see a classmate for the first time, we ask, how are you? Meaning, what's your condition right now? It's been a long time. How are you? It's been a long time. How are you? It's been a long time. How are you? Yes. 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 So yes is the word we use to agree with something or to show we think something is good or correct. You can use yes in any of those cases. Yes, this one please. Yes, this one please. Yes, this one please. No. 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 So no is the opposite of yes. We use it when we want to disagree or show that we think something is not good or is maybe not the best option. No, I haven't eaten yet. No, I haven't eaten yet. No, I haven't eaten yet. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So thank you is used to express your appreciation for something. You can use this after you receive a gift or someone does something for you. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm. So I'm is the reduced form of I and am. It becomes I'm. Make sure to clearly pronounce that sound, like when you're introducing yourself. I'm John. I'm John. I'm John. Goodbye. 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 So goodbye is one way to say like something at the end of the day, usually, to say bye to someone. Goodbye sounds a little bit more formal than just bye, but you can use it to sound polite. Goodbye. See you again. Goodbye. See you again. Goodbye. See you again. Bad. 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 Okay, so bad is a word that means not good. You can use it to describe something you don't like or that you think is inappropriate. Be careful of bad people. Be careful of bad people. Be careful of bad people. Good. 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 So good is the opposite of bad. You can use it when you want to express that you like something or that you think something is positive. My teacher is a good person. My teacher's a good person. My teacher is a good person. Pretty. 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 So pretty is used to describe someone or something's physical appearance, something that we think is beautiful. I have a pretty girlfriend. I have a pretty girlfriend. I have a pretty girlfriend. Ugly. 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 So ugly is the opposite of pretty. We use this word to describe something that we think is not pleasing or is unpleasant. Ugly face. Ugly face. Ugly face. Easy. 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 So easy is used to talk about something that is not difficult. It's maybe something that's simple to do. Easy exam. Easy exam. Easy exam. Difficult. 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 So difficult describes something that is hard or something that is challenging to do. Difficult problem. Difficult problem. Difficult problem. Near. 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 Near is used to talk about something that is close to us. It's something that we can go to quickly and easily. I live near the university. I live near the university. I live near the university. Far. 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 So far is the opposite of near. Far means something that is at great distance from something else. There's like a long way to get to something. The station is far from here. The station is far from here. The station is far from here. Small. 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 So small is the opposite of big. We use it to describe things that are little. You can use it for concepts, for objects, or for people. Small mistake. Small mistake. Small mistake. Well done! In this lesson, you expanded your vocabulary and learned 20 new useful words. Click the link in the description and sign up for free at EnglishClass101.com to get access to the full list of vocabulary you'll need for daily life conversations. You'll also get example sentences, custom flashcard decks, and more learning resources. See you next time. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about 25 must-know intermediate phrases. Let's get started. These are some intermediate level phrases that you can use in everyday life. You can use them when you travel, at work, in your studies. So I hope that they're helpful for you. They're for asking and answering questions. So after you learn these phrases, check out the link in the description where you can make an account at EnglishClass101.com and practice your English even more. All right, let's get started. How's it going? How's it going? You'll notice with how's it going that there's an apostrophe at the end of this. It's not how's it going or how is it going. If you say how is it going, it sounds too stiff. It doesn't sound so friendly. So we say how's it going? How's it going? How's it going means how are you? Like how are you doing? Or how is your life going? So it's like a friendly, kind of rougher, more casual way to say how are you? How's it going? How's it going? How's it going with you? Fine. See, that's the correct response. How's it going? Fine. How's it going? Good. How's it going? Not bad. How's it going? How's it going? Okay, let's go on to the next expression. What have you been up to? 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 What have you been up to is a more advanced version of like, what are you doing? So what have you been up to means what did you do since the last time I saw you? What have you been up to? So what have you been up to? It's like, I've been blah, blah, blah. We're going to talk about this in the next expression. So what have you been up to? Or what have you been doing is another popular variation. What have you been up to? How have you been? How have you been? How have you been? More naturally. How have you been? Sounds like how have you been in everyday speech. So how have gets reduced to how've. How have you been? How have you been? How have you been since the last time I saw you is what this means. How have you been? So that you sound also gets shorter. How have ya been is kind of what it sounds like if I slow it down a lot. How have you been? How you been, you might also hear too. So this means since the last time I saw you, what has your condition been like? Good? Bad? Busy? In most cases, the answer is just good. You?
Fine.
Fine. Anyway, moving along. I've been blah, blah, blah. I've been. This is the reduced form of I have been something, something. This is a good response to questions like, how have you been? Or what have you been up to? Numbers 2 and 3 in this episode. So if someone says, what have you been up to? You can say, I've been busy, or I've been working. I've been studying. I've been planting a garden in front of my house. I've been looking for a new car. I've been making videos on the internet. So I've been blah, blah, blah. So I've is short for I have been. So this is a present perfect tense expression. I've been something, something. You can use the progressive form. You can use an adjective here. You can use whatever suits your situation. So yeah. What have you been up to? I've been sleeping a lot. How about something, something? How about dinner? How about drinks? How about we do this later? How about something? This is a very simple and easy way to make a suggestion to someone. How about blah, blah, blah. So in fast speech, how about sounds like how about, how about, how about we, how about you, how about I? How about? So the A sound kind of disappears. How about we see a movie later? How about we go to the beach this weekend? How about we take a trip to Guam? How about we bake cookies? How about we go on to the next expression? Okay, sorry, I can't. Sorry, I can't. So sorry, I cannot. This is a way to refuse an invitation. So to say, no, I cannot do that thing and I feel bad about it. Sorry, I can't. Sorry, I can't. So like, sorry, I can't. You can add like the thing you are refusing if you like. You could say, sorry, I can't go to the beach with you this weekend. Or sorry, I can't meet you for dinner tonight. I have to work late. Sorry, I can't help you make your treehouse. I broke my leg. That was very specific. Sorry, I can't cook dinner tonight because I don't know how to cook. When you want to refuse and you maybe don't want to give specific reasons, you can say, sorry, I can't. I used this recently. Sorry, I can't go. Sure, sounds good. Sure, sounds good. So, sure, sounds good. You can put those two together. Sure means yes. Sounds good means like your idea seems to be a good thing. Like I'm hearing your idea. It sounds like a nice idea. So this is a good way to accept an invitation. Sure, sounds good. Or sounds nice, sounds great, sounds awesome, sounds cool, sounds fantastic. You can change your adjective there if you like. Sure, sounds rad. Do you want to something, something? Do you want to something, something? Do you want to plus an activity? Like, do you want to get dinner? Do you want to go for drinks? Do you want to ride bikes? Do you want to make videos for the internet? Do you want to study English with me? Do you want to, I don't know, do you want to get a Charizard tattoo? Already has one. Do you want to is a friendly and easy way to make an invitation for some kind of activity. When we say this expression, we kind of put the sounds together. So not do you want to, but do you wanna, do you wanna, do you wanna, do you wanna. So it's, you can imagine, it's like D apostrophe Y-A, W-A-N-N-A. Do you wanna, do you wanna. Not do you want to, but do you wanna. Do you wanna go to the next one? I do. What do you call this? What do you call this? So when you don't know the vocabulary word for something, or you just forget it, you can use this expression. What do you call this? So again, that do you becomes reduced. Do you becomes dia. What do you call this? So to call something is like to name something. What is the name you use for this thing? So what do you call this? Like, what do you call this? What do you call that? What do you call these? What do you call this? So you can use that when you don't know the word for something, when you find something new as well. How do I get to location? How do I get to? So how do I get to, for example, the station? How do I get to this hotel? Means what is the path I should take to arrive at that destination? How do I get to the beach from here? How do I get to my house from here? Or how do I get to the bar from here? How do I get to work from here? So how do I get to is a much more natural way to ask for directions to someplace. So don't use how do I go or how do I travel, I guess, but how do I get to a location? And don't forget your to. Also, remember, we use that preposition to before the specific place name. So a problem that I hear a lot is how do I go to there? So we don't use to before there because there is not a specific place. How do I get to the station? A station is a specific place, or a hotel is a specific place. There is not a specific place, so we cannot use to with there. So how do I get there? It's fine, no to. How do you get to the next one? By scrolling down on the iPad. All right, so let's go to the next one. Have a nice evening. Have a nice evening. Have a nice evening is a way to say goodbye at the end of the day. Many learners use good night at the end of the day, like with coworkers or maybe leaving a restaurant, like good night. We use good night when we're like saying goodbye to our kids or like when we're actually in bed, like with a spouse or like your partner, or maybe you say it to your children or something like that, good night, just before you go to sleep. When you want to say goodbye at the end of the day, use have a nice evening, have a good evening. That's a much more like natural and polite way to say goodbye at the end of the day. Have a nice evening. Have a good one. Have a good one. Have a good one. Have a good one means have a good day. So one here means day. Have a good day or have a good time or like have a good experience until I see you again. Have a good one or have a nice one. I think have a good one is probably the most common. Have a good one. So friendly, kind of polite-ish, I suppose. You can use this with your coworkers, with your friends, with your family members. But it does have, there's a little bit of distance there, I think. Have a good one. Okay, onward. Can I have item, please? Can I have item, please? Can I have something, please? So when you're shopping, you can use this to request something from the person working at the store. So can I have that shirt, please? Or can I have, for example, 200 grams of beef, please? Or can I have that pack of cigarettes, please? So you can use any item in this pattern. Can I have that thing, please? You can use singular, you can use plural, you can use a number here if you want, but can I have? And to make this more natural, not can I have that thing, please, but can I have? Can I have is kind of more natural. Can I have sounds like can I have? Can I have this iPad? Yes. Yes? Oh, I got an iPad today. Number of the noun, please. This is used again when shopping and maybe specifically when you're buying things in quantity. So that means, for example, like when you're shopping for food, you maybe need to buy like fresh meat or fresh fish, for example, and you want a certain quantity, a certain amount of something. You can use number of the noun, please. So I used the example before, like 200 grams of the beef, please. So you're buying things in bulk. When you're buying in bulk, it means you're buying a lot of stuff at one time. You can use an expression like this. Of course, even if you're not buying in bulk, you can use this, like 2 of the blue ones, please. You can use that as well. So this is just a simple pattern to use when shopping. Number of the noun, please. How do I plus your verb phrase. So we talked about the expression, how do I get to a place? This is how do I something. So not get, but how do I, and then use a verb here. So One thing I hear learners do when they don't know how to do something is they use an expression like, please teach me this thing, or I don't know this. So to make a request for someone to show you something, you can use this pattern. How do I use this computer? Or how do I turn on this car? How do I sell my kidney on the internet? How do I learn English? That's what a lot of people say. Just do it is the answer. So how do I plus your verb. So that's a much better way than please teach me. Use how do I learn English? How do I study grammar? How do I read books? So use just the simple present tense form of the verb in this one. Again, another point here, pronunciation point. How do I becomes how do I? How do I? How do I do this? How do I do that? How late are you open? How late are you open? This is very useful when you're visiting restaurants or bars or like retail shops as well. The most natural way to ask what time a store or other establishment finishes is how late are you open? How late are you open? So if you ask this question, you will get the closing time as the answer. Like, how late are you open? 8. How late are you open? 10. How late are you open? Midnight. Or how late are you open? We're open 24 hours. The internet is open forever. We have no closing time here at English Class 101. We're accessible always. How late are you open? So how late are you? So that are you is reduced. How late are you open? Are you sounds like how late are you open? We do not say how late are you closed. We don't say that. You could say when do you close? That's also okay. When do you close? But how late are you open? Do you have any plans for point in time? Do you have any plans for point in time? Do you have any plans for this weekend? Do you have any plans for tomorrow? Do you have any plans for tomorrow night? Do you have any plans for dinner? So choose a point in time, or kind of like I did with dinner. You can use meals here too. Choose a point in time to ask about another person's schedule. Don't forget for in this example. Do you have any plans for point in time? Do you have any plans for Sunday afternoon? Do you have any plans for Monday? So this is a quick way to ask about a schedule. Very nice, and it's kind of polite as well. Okay, on to the next one. My body part hurts. My body part hurts. This is an important and natural expression to use when you are not feeling well. So instead of like, I have a pain in my arm or something, or I have a pain somewhere, I hear many learners use that pattern. Instead, use my plus your body part hurts. For example, my arm hurts, my head hurts, my finger hurts, my stomach hurts, my back hurts, my face hurts. Because I got punched in it this morning. It's not true. Have you ever punched yourself in the face?
Myself?
Yeah, I did it once and I'm never gonna forget it.
Probably yes.
Yeah, I was trying to pull like the blankets up. It was like 6 in the morning. I was cold, it was winter. I tried to pull the blankets up and my blanket was kind of like shiny and slick and I was like half awake and I was like, bam! So my body part hurts. My body part hurts. That's the quickest way to explain that you do not feel well in some way. My body part hurts. Don't forget that S. My body part hurts. My eyeball hurts. That's not something we would say. My ear hurts. My throat hurts. How much is this? How much is this? This is a cost-related expression when you are shopping. How much is this? How much is that? You probably don't need to use this so much because in most cases the price is clearly written in stores. But every once in a while you do need to ask, or you need to like talk to someone about a price in a conversation. So how much is this? Or how much is that? You can change that. Of course, you can use the plural here. How much are these? How much are those? In present tense. And you can also ask about past tense information. How much was that? For example, how much was your car? Or how much was this apartment? Or how much were those donuts? This is a very important question. How much did your sandwich cost? You could ask that as well. How much does something cost is another expression you can use. But yeah, how much did your sandwich cost? It looks good. Or how much for a dozen burgers to be sent to my office tomorrow at 1 o'clock? What did you say? What did you say? Native speakers use this all the time. You can use this too. Please, it's important, probably more important for you to use this expression, and don't feel bad about it. What did you say? Naturally, what did you say? What did you say? What did you say is a question about the thing the other person in the conversation just said. Like you couldn't catch it, or you think you misheard something, or maybe you didn't understand something they said. What did you say? It's a little more polite than just, what? So, what did you say? Yeah, anytime you need to confirm something that someone else said, you can use, what did you say? Try to use a nice intonation with this also. What did you say? What does that mean? What does that mean? And native speakers use this too. Like we don't understand everything. Like sometimes everybody needs an explanation. So what does that mean is a great way to ask for it. What does that mean in fast speech is, what does that mean? What does that mean? So the TH in that becomes like a S or a Z sound. What does that mean? So it connects to that Z sound in does. What does that mean? What does that mean? So what does that mean? It's like you don't understand something that's written, or maybe you don't understand the implications. Implications means like the background information of a situation. So what does that mean? Or you don't understand something someone else said, but they're gone. So you can't say, what did you say? You ask someone else, what does that mean? What that person just said, what does that mean? So what does that mean is another really important expression for learners especially. I don't feel so good. I don't feel so good. So if you don't want to specifically say like my stomach hurts or my arm hurts or my head hurts, you can say I don't feel so good. So this tends to be used more for like stomach problems. So I don't feel so good. I ate a huge lunch. I don't feel so good. Or maybe you ate something bad. Ooh, I don't feel so good. We often use I don't feel so good when we actually feel very bad very suddenly. Like in the examples I mentioned, when we eat something and our body is not happy with it and we suddenly feel sick, we might use the expression, I don't feel so good. I need to go home. So you can use this to talk about like a sudden and unpleasant feeling in your body. I don't feel so good. I need to go to location. I need to go to location. I need to go to location is useful for talking about errands. So errands is like small tasks you need to do throughout the day. We also use this expression when we need to visit the restroom urgently. So you can say, I need to go to the restroom. That's great. That's a very natural and polite way to talk about visiting the restroom. Otherwise, when you're talking about your daily tasks, you can say, I need to go to the bank. I need to go to the store. I need to go to the car wash. I need to go to the pet sitter and pick up my neighbor's poodle. What? That was very specific. So you can talk about your responsibilities with need to. Yes, you can substitute have to here. I have to go to the bank. I have to go to the store. Keep in mind also, when you want to use the negative form, I don't have to or I don't need to, you can, but make sure you use it with something you don't have a responsibility to do. I hear lots of learners use expressions like, I don't have to go to the bar today, for example. Like, if going to a bar is part of your regular responsibilities, like you work at a bar, or like part of your business is at a bar, fine. But if it's just something you occasionally do, it sounds really unnatural to use, I don't have to go to the bar today. So we use this in the negative form for things we can naturally and reasonably be expected to have responsibility to do. So keep that in mind when you use the negative form. Okay, onward. I have to. So my previous one was I need to go to a place. If you want to just talk in general about responsibilities, you can use I have to. I have to get up early in the morning. I have to study for my tests. I have to think of a new hairstyle for my cat. Yesterday I had to, past tense, I had to buy new clothes because my director was making fun of me for wearing shirts that they were falling apart on camera, because that's how much I love shopping. Yeah, So past tense, I had to buy new clothes yesterday, or I had to go out in the rain yesterday. So again, I had some responsibility to do that. So past tense, had to. When are we leaving? When are we leaving? I included this here because it's a common question, surprisingly, like when are we leaving? Not when do we go? That's one that I hear sometimes, like when do we go, or when we go, or something like that. Don't use those. Oh, sorry, Mr. iPad. The question is, when are we leaving? So we use this when we're at an event. We're at a party, we're maybe at work, whatever. You're going somewhere else with another person or with a group. When are we leaving? When are we leaving this place, in other words? So natural pronunciation, when are we leaving? When are we leaving becomes when are we leaving? Okay, so those are 25 must-know intermediate phrases. I hope that those are helpful for you. Many of the phrases that I introduced here are in present tense, but remember, you can use them in past tense and in future tense too. So don't stick only to present tense. Make sure to go outside of present tense and think about the different ways that you can use these expressions to talk about the past and the future. Okay, so that's everything for this lesson. Thanks very much for watching. Please make sure to click on the link in the description to learn more English at EnglishClass101.com. Also, if you liked the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you have not already. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. Stevens.
Sing me your favorite song. Translate for me as you go along, so I can better understand how you want to be loved, how you want to be loved. Living it up, you came in on a high tide, calling to court all my fears, letting it go, this wild untried emotion. Say it loud and say it clear, but you know we could talk from dusk till dawn, and everything in my world would make sense. Rewind the night, let's get lost from dusk till dawn. Pause it in the perfect tense. And sing me your favorite song. Translate for me as you go along, so I can better understand how you want to be loved, how you want to be loved. Repeat it for me make it as slow as you dare. Word by word, interpreting this emotion, share as much, dear, as you can. But you know, we could talk from dusk till dawn, and everything in my world will make sense. Rewind the night, let's get lost from dusk till dawn. Pause it in the perfect tense. Sing me your favorite song. Translate for me as you go along, so I can better understand how you want to be loved, 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 how you want to be loved.
Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to give an introduction to English tenses. For this lesson, I'm going to give a short introduction to when to use each of the English tenses. I'm also going to share an example of what that tense looks like in a sentence or in a question. So this is just a quick guide. If you want more information about any of these tenses, you can try searching the YouTube channel or our website for a video specifically about one of these tenses. So I hope this is helpful for you. Okay, so let's get started. The first group of tenses I want to look at is the present tense. So for today's lesson, I've organized it into three categories: present, past, and future tenses. So let's begin with the present tense. So in each category, I have four different tenses. I have simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous. You might know continuous as progressive. They mean the same thing. Continuous and progressive mean the same thing for this lesson. So let's begin with the present simple tense. Present simple tense is a tense we use for general facts, for regular actions, and for schedules. So this is stuff that doesn't change. Like he speaks English, for example. She doesn't speak Spanish. That's a simple fact. For regular action, so things you do every day or every week, for example. And schedule, so that means like a bus or an airplane or maybe a car schedule, something that maintains a regular schedule. An example, two examples of using the present simple tense. First, I work on Mondays. So here, work is my verb. I work on Mondays. Simple present tense. A negative, I don't eat lunch at 2 o'clock. So these are simple present tense statements. In this case, they're just simple statements of fact, really. Okay, so let's continue to the next one. The second tense is the present continuous tense. The present continuous tense. So present continuous tense we use for continuing actions, and that means actions that are happening now. So for example, I'm teaching, I'm standing, I'm speaking. Those are actions happening now. So we use it for continuing actions now, like physical actions. We also use it for trends. So things happening in your society right now, for example. So examples would be like, that TV show is becoming popular, or the world is getting warmer, for example. So these are things happening now also. We can use it for one-time actions as well, and this relates a little bit to future tense, which I'm going to talk about later too. But something happening just one time in the future, we can use the continuous form to describe that. So, for example, I'm working this Saturday. So sometimes students ask, what's the difference? Why is it I'm working this Saturday and not I work this Saturday? Remember, we talked about the present simple tense. We use that for regular actions, for general facts. So if you usually work on Saturdays, you should use the present simple tense. I work on Saturdays. If, however, this Saturday is special and you don't usually work on Saturdays, you should use the continuous tense. I'm working this Saturday. So it sounds like that's not a typical thing for you. I'm working this Saturday. Okay, let's go on to the third tense. The third tense is the present perfect tense, the present perfect tense. So we use the present perfect tense for general life experience or lack thereof. So lack thereof means no life experience, not having a life experience. So something that you did in the past, but not at a specific point in time. The specific point in time is not so important here, or maybe we don't know. So example. A negative example, he has never been to Spain. He has never been to Spain. In this case, no life experience of going to Spain is what this means. So this is an example of present perfect tense. Here we have he has. Remember, we need to attach has or have before our past participle verb form here. So for more information about this tense, you can check the channel. There's more information there. So let's continue on to the next tense now. The next tense is the present perfect continuous tense. Present perfect continuous. We use this tense for actions that started in the past and continue to the present. So something you started doing in the past, some point in the past, it's not always important when, but that action continues. So you use this a lot to talk about your studies, for example. We use words like for and since and maybe ago with this as well. So an example of this, I've been studying English for 2 years. So here we see I've been. This I've is the contracted, the reduced form of I have. I have been studying. So this is the continuous or the progressive form. In this case, I've used the word for. I've used for because I'm using 2 years, which is a length of time. We can use since. For example, I've been studying English since 2016. So we use since before a specific point in time. We can use ago as well. Usually we pair it with since. I've been studying English since 2 years ago. You'll notice when we use ago, however, we change from using, in my first example, 2016 to a length of time, since 2 years ago. So there are a few different changes you need to make there. But you can check the other video on the channel for more information about that grammar point. Okay, let's move on to the second group for today, which is the past tense. Let's look at the 4 points in the past tense here. First one is the past simple, or just simple past tense. Simple past tense is used for actions that started and finished in the past. So for example, I taught simple present tense earlier. So I used past tense. I taught simple present tense because the action started and finished in the past. Another example, I worked all night. I worked all night. So work is my verb. I use simple past tense worked because the action started and finished in the past. Another example, a negative, they didn't come. They didn't come to the party. They didn't come to the office. The action was in the past. It refers to something that did not happen in the past. So there was no action in the past, but it's over, it's finished. So we use simple past tense to talk about these simple actions that started and finished in the past. Okay, let's go on to the past continuous tense then. Past continuous is for actions that were continuing in the past. So this one is one we often use with a specific point in time along with it. So let's look at an example first. We were listening to music. We were listening to music yesterday, or we were listening to music at 8 p.m. When were you listening to music? When was that action continuing? At 8 p.m. or yesterday. So it's common to include a point in time with this grammar point. Another example, like I was doing something something, ing form there. So this is one that's some people have questions about, like why should I use that? When should I use that? It's typically used in response to someone's question, like what were you doing last night, for example, or what were you doing this morning? So you want to know someone's activities at a specific point in time. You can use this grammar point to respond to that question. Okay, let's move along to the past perfect tense, our next one. Past perfect tense is for actions that were completed or not completed at a non-specific point in the past, So this one is kind of difficult, and it's perhaps not used quite so much in everyday conversation. This is used a bit more in writing. This is a grammar point that's especially helpful when we want to show kind of a timeline in our writing. To show that an action happened before another action in the past, we can use the past perfect tense. So here's a couple of examples. First one, they hadn't departed yet. So here, hadn't is the reduced form of had not. They hadn't departed yet. And I had taken my lunch break. So we would use sentences like these if we're telling a story. So we're telling a story about the past, and we want to show that one action happened before another action. When we want to talk about the earlier action, so the thing that happened earlier, like more in the past, we use the past perfect tense. Then we can use the simple past tense to explain the action that happened closer to the present. So for example, I had taken my lunch break when I saw the delivery man came, or something like that. So you can see my second point there. That's kind of a strange example, but you see that my second point there uses the simple past tense. I saw the delivery man came. So I had taken my lunch break further in the past when I saw the delivery man came. So that's simple past tense. So this is probably more common in writing, but it is used in speaking as well too. So this is what we use past perfect tense to do. Okay, let's move on then to another challenging point, past perfect continuous tense. Past perfect continuous. These are sentences or questions for actions that started in the past and continued to like an unspecified point in the past. So the action has finished as well. That's a key difference with the present perfect continuous. With present perfect continuous, the action is happening now still. That behavior still continues. Key point though with past perfect continuous is that the action started at some point in the past and then continued and finished as well, but at some unspecified point. So maybe we don't know exactly when the action finished, but it's done, it's complete. So let's look at an example. They had been waiting since 3 p.m. So here, they had been waiting. This shows us that there was some waiting period. So the waiting started at 3 p.m. and the waiting continued and continued and continued. We don't know when the waiting finished, but this grammar point shows us that the waiting has finished. We're finished waiting. That's done. We wanted to talk only about this period of time the people were waiting in the past. So this is the grammar point that we use to talk about things that were happening over a period of time in the past and then finished. So this is something, again, we use when telling stories. We're showing a sequence of events, actually. Okay, let's move along then to the last group for today's lesson, the future tense. Future tense. Let's start with the future simple tense. Future simple tense. This is for actions that are planned or unplanned for the future. There are actually a lot of different things we can do to make the future simple tense. Some very common ways of making future simple are through using will and won't, and going to and not going to. And earlier in this lesson, I mentioned using the continuous tense, the present continuous tense, the ing form of a verb to make statements about the future also. So there are many ways to make simple future statements. Let's look at a couple of examples. First, I'll have a glass of wine. This uses will, I'll. I'll is the reduced form of I will have a glass of wine. That's a future statement. Also, he's going to cook dinner. In this one, I've used going to express that. So these are just simple things about planned or perhaps unplanned. Like he's not going to cook dinner would be an unplanned action in the future, or something that's not going to happen in the future, rather. Okay, so let's go on to the future continuous tense now. Future continuous tense, this is for actions you think will or will not be continuing in the future. Something you think will be continuously happening in the future. Let's look at an example. I'm not going to be working at company A. I'm not going to be working at company A. So here you can see we have going to. I'm not going to. Plus, we have a verb in the continuous tense. I'm not going to be working at company A. Meaning, in other words, I'm not going to have a job at company A, or I'm not going to continue my position at company A in the future. That's my thought now in the present about the future. So at that time in the future, like in 1 year, for example, I will not be working at that company, or I'm not going to be working at company A. So that's the idea behind the future continuous tense. Okay, let's move along to the future perfect tense then. So future perfect tense refers to actions that you think will have started some point in the future. So remember, you're thinking in the present right now. But this grammar point is used to talk about something you imagine in the future that starts at some point and you think might be continuing into the future, maybe. Something started and maybe continues. This is the idea here. So let's look at an example. I will have lived in China for 2 years. I will have lived in China. So here I'm using will to show it's a future tense statement, I will, plus have lived. This is the same thing that we use for the present perfect tense that we talked about earlier, that past participle plus have or has, but we're attaching it to a future tense will. I will have lived in China for 2 years. So when would we use this? So if, for example, someone asks you a question about your future and they say like, so where do you see yourself in like 2020, for example? Or where do you imagine you're going to live in 2020, for example? You can say, oh, I will have lived in China for 2 years. So meaning at that time, in 2020, I will have lived in China for 2 years. So that means not now, but in the future. At that point in time in the future, I will have started living in China, and that will have continued for 2 years. So that's what that means. That's a guess about the future, future time period, that something will have continued in the future. So again, quite a challenging grammar point, but something definitely to look into. So again, not used perhaps as much as the present perfect tense, but great for storytelling and for imagining your future too. Okay, so let's move on to the last point for today's lesson, the future perfect continuous tense. Future perfect continuous. This is a tense that you use similar to the last one, but for actions you think will or won't have started and will be continuing. So something that's going to have started again in the future, something started, and the action will have continued into the future. Example. I won't have been eating meat for 3 months. I won't have been eating meat for 3 months. So for this one, let's imagine that you decided last month to stop eating meat. So that's fine, actually. For this sentence, that's okay. You made a decision last month to stop eating meat. Then someone asks you about your progress, like how's it going? Like what are you going to do next month? And you can say to yourself, well, at that point, next month, by next month in the future, you can use this sentence. I won't, so won't, negative, will not. I won't have been eating meat for 3 months. For 3 months. So that means from the point in time I started it in the past until this point in the future. So not present, but into the future. This entire time, my behavior not eating meat, that's going to have continued. So you're making a guess about the future. So at this future point in time, that behavior I started in the past will have continued and continued and continued. And at this point, it will be 3 months total for that behavior. So we use this to talk about something, some future thing that will have continued or will be continuing into the future. So will have continued, meaning something that started in the past and continues into the future, or will be continuing, meaning it's still going into the future as well. So there are a couple of very, very subtle grammar points to consider there too. So those are a couple of maybe tough grammar points, but they're really good for storytelling and for talking about your future as well. Okay, so I know that this was a lot of information in this lesson. If you have some questions about where to find more details about any of these grammar points, you can check the YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel has some resources for these grammar points. There's also some information on the website. If you don't see it on the website or on the YouTube channel yet, please have a little bit of patience. We are making new stuff all the time and we'll hopefully have this available for you soon. So please keep checking back in with us. Great, so that's everything for this lesson. I hope that it was useful for you. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave a comment below the video. If you like the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for lots of other things that you can use to study English. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Imagine you're on a plane. There's someone next to you. What do you say? Hi, Alicia here. Introducing yourself in English is easy. In this lesson, you're going to learn how with Gustavo and Henry, who meet on a plane. Gustavo's moving to New York. His family is going to join him later in the month. Henry is in the seat when Gustavo gets on the plane. Let's watch.
Excuse me.
Sorry about that.
Hi, how do you do? I'm Gustavo.
Nice to meet you, Gustavo. I'm Henry Edens.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again, please? A bit slowly?
Henry Edens.
Henry Edens.
That's it, but please call me Hank.
Hank, nice to meet you.
Now with subtitles.
Excuse me.
Sorry about that.
Hi, how do you do? I'm Gustavo.
Nice to meet you, Gustavo. I'm Henry Edens.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again, please? A bit slowly?
Henry Edens.
Henry Edens.
That's it, but please call me Hank.
Hank, nice to meet you.
Here are the key words from the scene.
Hi,
Hi. Hi. Hi.
but,
But. But. But.
excuse me,
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me.
two,
Two. Two. Two.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
How do you do?
How do you do? How do you do? How do you do? Here are the key phrases from the scene. How did Henry apologize when he realized he was in Gustavo's way?
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
In general, this expression, when used to respond to "excuse me," shows a friendly willingness to help the other person.
In this case, Henry wanted to show he was happy to move out of Gustavo's way.
You can also use it to apologize for a small mistake, like bumping into someone on the street or blocking someone's way in the aisle of a supermarket.
Now you try. Say Henry's line after Gustavo speaks.
Excuse me.
Sorry about that.
Later, Gustavo also used the word sorry to apologize when he didn't understand Henry's name. Which phrase did he use?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
This is a very common phrase in English for many situations, but here, Gustavo uses it to indicate he didn't understand something.
Now you try. Say the line after Henry speaks.
I'm Henry Edens.
I'm sorry.
Because Gustavo did not understand something, he asked Henry to repeat what he said. To do this, what polite question did he use?
Can you say that again, please?
Can you say that again, please?
In response, English speakers will usually repeat what they have said and will use the same words.
Now you try. Ask the question after Gustavo says, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again, please?
Gustavo also wanted Henry to speak more slowly. To do this, what does he ask?
A bit slowly?
A bit slowly.
This is not a complete sentence, but has a clear meaning when used after, "Can you say that again, please?" In response, English speakers will slow their speech down.
Now you try. Say the phrase after Gustavo says, Can you say that again, please?
Can you say that again, please? A bit slowly?
After Gustavo said Henry's name, Henry confirmed he said it correctly. How did he do that?
That's it.
That's it.
This is like saying, "That's correct." But since the situation was friendly, "That's it" sounded more natural.
Now you try. Say the phrase after Gustavo says Henry's name correctly.
Henry Edens.
That's it.
Now the lesson focus. Here's how to introduce yourself. Ready? Do you remember how Gustavo introduced himself?
Hi, how do you do? I'm Gustavo.
When Gustavo introduced himself, he started with "Hi," and then used a set phrase.
How do you do?
How do you do?
This is a polite expression people often use with an introduction. It sounds like a question, but it has no particular meaning, and there's no expectation the other person will try to answer it.
Next, he says,
I'm Gustavo.
the first part of this sentence is a contraction of two words, I and am. The am here functions like an equal sign in math.
I'm.
I'm
The next word in the sentence is a name.
Gustavo.
Together it's.
I'm Gustavo.
The structure of the pattern is
Hi, how do you do? I'm
plus.
your name.
Now you try. Imagine your name is John. Say, "Hi, how do you do? I'm John."
Hi, how do you do? I'm John.
Now imagine your name is Aiko. Say, "Hi, how do you do? I'm Aiko." Hi, how do you do? I'm Aiko.
Now use your name.
Okay, there are two additional things you need to know. First, there's a shortcut for giving your name.
Just drop the I'm from the final sentence of the self-introduction.
For example, If Gustavo just said,
Hi, how do you do? Gustavo.
Henry would have understood it was his name.
This would be especially clear if Gustavo extended his hand for a handshake while saying this.
In very casual situations, you can even drop the hi and the how do you do. All that is left would be your name.
The second thing you need to know is you can use I'm with just the first name or your first name and the last name together.
I'm Henry Edens.
Edens is Henry's family name.
Using both your first name and your last name is a little more formal.
It also gives you less privacy. For example, if people know both your first and last name, they can find you on the internet more easily.
So it may be more common for strangers to say just their first name than people meeting in a more friendly environment.
Next, you'll learn how to tell people to call you by a nickname, just like Henry did in the scene.
But please call me Hank.
But please, call me Hank.
The first word in the sentence is
But.
This word is not necessary, but it makes the transition to the rest of the sentence smoother.
Henry uses this to introduce a new piece of information.
And this information changes something about what he said before, but makes this clear.
The next word introduces a polite request.
Please.
Please.
Next is a request to use a certain name.
Call.
Call.
After this is the word
Me.
me.
Last is a common nickname for men named Henry.
Hank.
Hank.
Please call me Hank.
The sentence structure is
Please, call me.
plus.
Your nickname.
Now you try. Imagine your nickname is Matt. Say, please call me Matt.
Please, call me Matt.
Now imagine your nickname is Lulu. Say, please call me Lulu.
Please, call me Lulu.
Now use your own nickname. Say, please call me, and then use your nickname.
Finally, when you meet someone for the first time, it's polite to say a set phrase at the end.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Usually, both people will say this or something similar to it.
Now you try.
Nice to meet you.
Now it's time to practice your new ability. Let's practice.
This is your chance to introduce yourself. Try to remember what you learned and practice by speaking aloud.
It's your first day in the US, and you're meeting your new neighbor. Ready? Here we go.
What's the first thing you say to someone you've just met? Hi, how do you do?
How do you tell someone your name?
I'm name.
I'm Henry Edens.
How do you tell someone your nickname? Please call me your nickname.
Please call me Hank.
What's the last thing you say to someone you've just met?
Nice to meet you.
Great job. You've just introduced yourself. You'll follow this same pattern many times, so be sure to practice it. Well done. Now, watch the scene one more time. After that, go and practice with all your American friends, or with us in the comments. Bye!
Excuse me.
Sorry about that.
Hi, how do you do? I'm Gustavo.
Nice to meet you, Gustavo. I'm Henry Edens.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again, please? A bit slowly?
Henry Edens.
Henry Edens.
That's it. but please call me Hank.
Hank, nice to meet you.
Yeah! Hi everybody, welcome back to Top Words. My name is Alicia, and today we're going to be talking about tongue twisters. Tongue twisters are phrases that are difficult to say, so they're really good chances to practice your pronunciation. Let's go. Sally sold seashells by the seashore. Sally sold seashells by the seashore. This one's difficult because of the s and sh sounds. Sally sold seashells by the seashore. Sally sold seashells by the seashore. Sally sold seashells by the seashore. That one's not so bad. Okay, we'll move on. Next. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. I've never seen this before. Okay. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. That's a good one. That's a good one. I feel like you could have thrown the word like but in there somewhere too. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. Ah, that's a good one. It's very bubbly. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. It's like if I knew the words, I could probably say it faster. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. Butter's bitter. Bitter, butter, bitter. But she bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. Is this enough? I don't know when to stop. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? The next tongue twister is also a classic one about woodchucks. Woodchucks are real creatures that exist on the west coast of the United States, primarily in Washington and Oregon. They're like beavers, but they don't live in rivers. They live in like forests and rocks. The tongue twister is, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? And then there's a common response to that, which is, it would chuck all the wood that a woodchuck could if a woodchuck could chuck wood. We definitely talked about this one in that English topics episode we did about tongue twisters. Lesser leather, never weathered, wetter weather better. Oh, I've never seen this. Lesser leather, never weathered, wetter weather better? Hang on, I'm just like astounded by the grammar of this sentence. Lesser leather, never weathered, wetter weather better. Oh, that's hard. It's the wetter weather better. Wetter weather better part. Those last three words. Lesser leather, never weathered, wetter better. Lesser leather, never weathered, wetter weather better. Wetter weather better. Weather. It's the weather better that's hard. Weather better. Weather better. Weather better. Wetter weather better. Yeah, that's it. Lesser leather, never weathered, wetter weather better. On to the next one. If two witches would watch two watches, which witch would watch which watch? If two witches would watch two watches, which witch would watch which watch? Did you write these? Did you find these on the internet? Someone's brilliant. If two witches would watch two watches, which witch would watch which watch? That one's a good one. If two witches would watch two watches, which witch would watch which witch would watch which watch? All right, that's the end. Wow, those are really good tongue twisters. The one that always gets me from that episode of English Topics that we did was Irish wristwatch. Irish wristwatch. Hard one. And one we came up with the other day was sushi session. It's a good one, right? Yeah. They were like, let's go for a sushi session. I was like, that's hard. Sushi session, sushi. That's a really good one too. Irish wristwatch and sushi session. All right, so those are Those are tongue twisters. Give them a try. They are really, really great ways to practice your pronunciation. If you know any other tongue twisters, please share them with us in a comment so that we can all give them a try. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Top Words. If you liked this video, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Thanks very much for watching this episode, and we'll see you again soon. Bye. Oh my God, I want to have this job where I just sit at like my desk and I just think of, that's probably what somebody does, like they're bored at their job and then they just think of these sorts of things. Remember, here's what you can do to learn all of these words by heart. Drill these words with our spaced repetition flashcards, which will help cement these words into your long-term memory.
Save them to the Word Bank, your personal vocabulary collection where you can print out your own study sheets, or review the words with our looped vocabulary slideshow and play it until you know all of the words. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to get these lessons and study tools.